Basically, the program is an alternative to the court procedure or court process if we have an individual who's committed a crime, and generally it would be a younger offender or first-time offender that the police department might refer to the Communities for Restorative Justice program. The police department is a big proponent of utilizing this program, especially when it does involve young people or first-time offenders that we've not had prior interaction with, that may have, gotten caught up in something, didn't use their best judgment, and made a mistake. So we would rather see that they learn from this process rather than go to court and potentially have a criminal history that can follow them further into their adulthood and may impact their ability to get into certain colleges or jobs further on down the road, employment opportunities that they might have.
Communities for Restorative Justice is 15 years old, and since the year 2000, we've had over 600 successful cases. You're going to see a film now that takes you through the life of a case. We created this film because the #1 question that we receive when we talk to people about restorative justice is, can I come to a circle? Can I see a circle? Can I sit in? Can I shadow? People want to understand what this process is like. And you can imagine that for confidentiality reasons, this just is not possible. So C4RJ created this film with great support from many of our grant funding organizations to bring people into the life of a case and to help understand what the process looks like and why someone might participate.
Jake, could you please tell us what happened the night of the break-in?
Well, I was out trying to get some stuff that I could fence. I had to pay some guys back some money I owed them. And I knew how to get into the Parker's house. I just did it. I thought it would be easy to just get in and out.
Restorative justice is a set of principles that give rise to practices, but they all adhere to the same idea that crime and harm affect people and relationships. Yes, crime is a violation of the law, but mostly it's a violation of people. And restorative practices then include the people who've been affected by that harm, and they participate in finding what is meaningful to them when it comes to justice. Communities for Restorative Justice is a community police partnership model where we have a board of community leaders, and we also have an advisory group of police members who give this program strength and endurance.
So what have you been thinking about your actions since committing the crime?
Just what a stupid jerk I am. Megan, I wish there was something I could tell you to make you feel better about me again. I don't have anything to say for myself about why I did this.
The main differences between restorative justice and a court proceeding are who decides what takes place. In a circle process in restorative justice, those who are affected by that crime respond to that crime. In the court process, there are attorneys on both sides, on the prosecution and the defense. There are judges and probation officers. Those are the people who are deciding what's appropriate.
Judy, I do appreciate all that you've done for me. I know you probably can't believe that. Why would you? Believe me, I'm really sorry.
Thanks for your honesty on that, Jake.
Hey, Keith.
Oh, hi, Christy. How are you?
Hi, good, thanks. Nice to see
Good,
you.
You too. We have another case for you, actually. I think it'll be a good one for the program. It's a break and entry with larceny. Interesting, the victim and offender know each other.
The process begins with a conversation between us and one of our participating police departments. They will recommend a criminal incident to us, and we talk about what the elements of that incident are, whether the people who've been affected by the crime are willing to have the case come to restorative justice, and also whether the people involved who participated are taking responsibility for the incident. After the referral happens, you begin by inviting separately the people who have been affected to intake interviews and the people who are taking responsibility for the incident to come to an intake interview. And the purpose of the intake interviews is to gain perspective about what happened, to learn something about what was behind the incident.
So what kind of questions do you think Megan and her mom might have for you?
Well, they already know it was me. I guess they want to know why I broke into their house.
We also have to ensure that the process will be safe for everyone involved. We have an officer who sits in on the circle. So victims who may sometimes feel uneasy about occupying the same space as the people who've caused them harm, they will have a sense of assurance and safety by having an officer in the room. For the offender, we have to make sure that the victims who come are not coming with a sense of vindictiveness, that they are coming seeking answers and to express anger, but they're not going to be using the process for something other than what it was designed for.
The circle will include the person or people who've been affected. The people responsible will be there. The parents and loved ones are very important participants. The other people involved will be a keeper from our organization, a police officer from the referring department, and there will be at least one or two other volunteers who will be instrumental going forward between the opening circle and the closing circle in helping the person responsible fulfill the obligations made. We use a speaking piece, usually of Riverstone, and often we use one that has the word courage on it because we understand from this work that it takes a lot of courage for both sides in a criminal incident to step forward and use this process.
So Judy, tell us what happened when the police arrived.
When the police officer walked around with me, I started going through the drawers that had been disturbed. A lot was gone, but the things that mattered the most to me were the family things. My grandmother's wedding band and engagement ring. They were so beautiful.
And for you, how has it been for you since the break-in?
It's been a lot of work. For a while, I was talking daily to the police, and then there was the insurance company and all kinds of paperwork. It's just rotten. Beyond that, I feel violated. Thinking of someone being in my home, going through my belongings, my underwear, and I feel just sick when I think of him being in my kid's room and what he did and what he looked at in there.
The keeper of this circle will address some questions to the responsible party about what happened, what he or she was thinking, and anything else they would like to say at that point by way of presenting themselves. And then we usually turn to the person or people who've been affected and ask them questions about how has this been for you, and we create a space for them to ask the questions that they might have for the persons involved. We turn to the police officer and ask for some information from his or her perspective about what occurred, what the effects have been.
As Jake knows, breaking and entering, larceny, these are both felonies, okay? And you're here today and not in front of a judge because of Mrs. Parker and Megan. Whether you're applying for financial aid, you're trying to get a job, a criminal record is going to hold you up in that, okay? And that's the most important part of this, is to make sure that you understand the ramifications of that.
Thanks, Detective. Could you pass the stone to Jake's mom? So, Alice, what has this been like for you?
Well, Judy, Megan, I just can't tell you how sorry I am. This is not how this boy was raised. I don't know what's been going through his mind. Every morning when I wake up, I just remember and I just feel so ashamed. Like I should have done something different. I should have known what was going on. I should have made him talk to me when I knew something was up.
We ask people to present any questions they might have, and also to make comments that they might have on what they've heard. Typically, a keeper would then ask, has everybody had their questions answered? And if people agree that they have, we then move on to what we call the agreement round.
So, Megan, how about you? What do you want?
Well, I want what my mom wants, and I want to see Jake get it together. You should be in school. You should be going to classes. I don't buy it when you say you can't get control over your life. And in the meantime, if you've got a drug problem, deal with it.
We will, as part of the agreement, include what we call reflective exercises. And these are things that the facilitators will eventually work on with the responsible parties. And then another big thing that will usually be included in the agreement is a written letter of apology.
Jake, you and I will work together to explore what a full apology letter looks like. And it takes a lot of work to write an apology letter.
We want, and we will help guide an offender in writing what is a very meaningful apology. And that starts with the question, what did you hear the victims say? What did they say they needed?
I also want to know, Jake, that you're addressing the issues that got you into this mess and that allowed you to do such a horrible thing to people who cared for you.
So we bring all that together in this agreement round of the opening circle, and then we all sign it. And the agreement includes a pledge that everybody who's signing are going to do all they can to make sure that this agreement is fulfilled. Often, because a community has been affected, a circle will decide that community service is appropriate, and we'll discuss within the circle what service might be meaningful, and we will try to come up with, an appropriate number of hours and an appropriate venue for doing the service.
So, welcome back, everyone. We're here today to hear what Jake has been up to since the last circle.
Usually in 60 to 90 days, we bring everybody back to the circle who was involved the first time. And the keeper will ask the person taking responsibility, you agreed to do these things. What did you do and what did you learn from them?
So let's start with you, Jake. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing since we were together last?
Yeah. Well, a few things. I've been going to group meeting to talk about some of the stuff that was going on with me. And that was helpful because it just made things clear for me.
Can you say a little bit more about that? What you mean by that?
Well, remember how I said a while back that I just didn't feel like I was in control? That I felt sometimes like I was watching myself be somebody else. Turns out a lot of people in group could relate to that. I mean that I feel like I'm back in my own head.
Okay.
Often the responsible parties will come back more confident than we saw them in the beginning. They're able to look up meet your eyes, and they're able to speak much more directly to the people they've harmed. The most important thing is that the victim be satisfied, and in the vast majority of cases, they are.
We got the letter, and we appreciated it very much. It seems pretty clear to us that Jake put a lot of thought into the letter, and that he's definitely sorry for what he did. We're still upset, of course, that it happened, but that honest apology and explanation really helps.
We see that the victim is feeling whole again, that their own worldview has been restored, and that they're ready to move on and are satisfied with the process. The circle ends once everybody has had a chance to speak with a general statement that it seems as though so-and-so has met all of his or her obligations, and the sense of the circle seems to be that we're ready to close this.
I want to thank everyone for taking part in this. One of the reasons we have the word courage written on this stone that we've been passing around is that it takes a lot of courage for you, Jake, to take part in this, to admit what you did that was wrong. I think it takes also an enormous amount of courage for you, Judy, and you, Megan, to take part in this. And we're really grateful that both you were willing to participate. I do want to thank all of you again for taking part. And with that, I would say that this case is closed.
I would have to say that my overwhelming emotion at first was shame and frankly horror that someone I thought I knew very well and who was always dear to my heart would have done this. The circle process was explained to us very clearly from the start. We knew what all the steps would be and who the players would be. And it's confidential. So although there were multiple people involved, we knew that this was not going to be broadcast town-wide, so it felt very safe. I had a feeling from the very start that everyone would have their say, that it would be a process conducted with great dignity and respect for all concerned. This was not a witch hunt or anything like that. The tensions that arise within the individual families, including my own, were another dynamic that, quite apart from the circle, is a very serious thing that you have to grapple with. The parents and the child have to come to terms with their own tensions, anger, disappointment, fears, anxieties. And that seemed to happen within each of the families. As I sat there in the circle, I could see that that healing was going on within each family unit, which was remarkable. One thing that surprised me about the circle and made it so successful is that no matter what your personality, people seem to be drawn in and embrace it and get a lot out of it. Even people who might feel reserved and shy or have trouble articulating their emotions are given a platform and enough support that my observation was that everyone was made to feel comfortable, and that was really remarkable.
When I reached my car, I was surprised to see a gentleman. He came out of nowhere, and he just grabbed my arm and said, "You're not going anywhere. What's your name? I need your name. What's your registration?" I tried to get some parents who were going into their cars to help me and get the coaches and the athletic director. But none of them wanted to get involved. So that made me really, it made the situation scary. I didn't know whether he was armed. I didn't know if he had a weapon. I didn't know what his problem was. And I'm trying to reason with him, and I'm trying to get help, and he's in my face and keeps circling me. Basically, he was detaining me. I really had no idea what this was uncharted territory for me. But I decided to give it a shot because it's better than, to me, it was a better option than taking it to court where he will have a lawyer and the process would just go on and on and on. I just want an apology and that he will not do this again. But the circle, that's the name they call themselves, the group of volunteers, made me feel like they were advocating for me. They wanted this thing to be resolved. And I went from being a skeptic to, this is, if we go through this and it worked, then it's a win-win for everybody. In the end, that last meeting we had was just like, I didn't say a word. I mean, I didn't say much. He just was like, so sorry. He was in tears. I felt the joy in everybody in the circle. Everybody was like, yes, we did it. For the first time, I didn't look at him as an aggressor. I felt sorry for him for really, owning to his demons, and I knew we were getting a breakthrough. I think, give credit to the police, that they thought that they should try this alternative method. So it takes a community. It takes a village, people sometimes say, and it was a village. The police officers, the police department, the volunteers, the circle, myself, the aggressor, all of that coming together in the end, it was wonderful.
I think when most officers hear restorative justice, they think it's some sort of get-out-of-jail-free card. It's some sort of, I've heard the term hug-a-thug, as if some sort of touchy-feely type of situation. But in my experience, it's completely different than that. Restorative justice offers a unique approach to say, you know what, here, let's put you in front of your victim, face-to-face, and let's repair the harm on a more personal level, and it makes a tremendous difference for the offender as well as for the victims.
We started with our first case before we were ready, and that was quite a discussion. Is we didn't even have the structure put together, but we just asked ourselves, do we have people that understand what restorative justice is? Yes. Do we have a victim that wants to avail themselves of this type of a process and wants to stay out of the court system? Yes. And we have people who care that will support the whole thing. Yes. All right, let's give it a shot. And one by one, we measured success by how the officers were buying into the program. Out in the community, success was very tangible. It was something you could touch and feel. Victims were thanking us, were telling us that they've been involved in the system before, and this is one of the more profound things that they've done. Offenders were telling us that this had a very big impact. They've never had to sit across from someone and answer the question of why you did this and listen to the response of, you need to know what this did, how this impacted for me.
When you're dealing with an offender, this provides accountability. They have to sit in a room and face their victims. The court system gets bogged down with heavy caseloads, so stuff gets lost in the shuffle, and including that victim as well as that offender. So now all of a sudden they just become a number at the court. Here, the idea here is have a greater impact, and that's what the program offers, is that the agreement items are specific to that individual as well as what the victims are looking for, and that's the main difference.
If you're looking to minimize the number of people that are going into the criminal justice system, if you're looking to minimize recidivism rates, if you're looking to maximize the public's perception of how the criminal justice system works, if you're looking to maximize the offender's perception of how the system works, this is the answer. This is the most profound process I've been involved in my career. I'm telling you that it was the answer we were looking for, and I think it can be the answer that you're looking for also.
as a teacher, I know that often I have to stop my class, stop my lesson and say to myself, this is a teachable moment. What's going on at this moment is crucial. Somebody has made a mistake, and they may be able to use the process to not only rectify the mistake, but to learn to get back on track, to restore themselves to a place which they're proud of their actions as opposed to living with the guilt of what they've done, and to be able to move on. Because people shouldn't be defined by their worst moments.
To be a victim of a crime is really, you feel so violated, and you want justice and you want retribution and restitution, and I think that's one of the the great things about this program, that it allows the victim to speak and be heard.
In some ways, these folks are in crisis, and so you're being invited into a life, depending on how open they are, at a time when they're pretty vulnerable. And part of that reward is just being able to be part of that journey for them for this defined period of time. One experience that jumps to mind is a young woman who came to us. I was her facilitator, and as I got to know her, I realized that her situation was one in which she was constantly being put down at home, and so she had no self-confidence whatsoever. So we worked together for 3 or 4 months, and at the end of that, we had the closing circle, and at the end of the closing circle, I told her again how much I enjoyed working with her and how proud I was of her. And it startled me. She got up and just gave me this huge hug. And that was just a wonderful thing. It's not something you ever look for, and I would never initiate, but it was a gift. I think the things that make a really good volunteer are that you are excited about the concept of the organization, that you want to make a contribution to the community. You need to be compassionate, you need to be a really good listener, and you need to be someone who finds your gratification in providing both support and accountability.
They come to us as C4RJ and people from court systems, but they're not identified as such. That's only the volunteer coordinator and the executive director know about that. So they're completely at ease and fit in with the rest of the group, and they learn to work with other people. They learn to relate with elderly who are working there, older people, professional people. There's many professional people working there. They learn to relate to the clients.
It's a very healthy place to work because they get to use their minds and their bodies and their heart, really, to help other people. And they may have had no knowledge that these people, perfectly wonderful people, need help. And I think it can be life-changing for them.
One of the reasons that I am interested in contributing to this is that I feel like that this is a little seed program that needs nurturing, that needs development, that needs our attention as our community. We're putting a lot of energy into it as a community, but it needs it because if this can be successful, if this model can be proven to be workable and sustainable, then it could revolutionize justice in our country and around the world.
Communities for Restorative Justice is currently working in 12 communities. Our partners are Acton, Arlington, Bedford, Boxborough, Cambridge, Carlisle, Concord, Groton, Lexington, Littleton, Stowe, and Wellesley. We have 11 partner towns in Middlesex County, and we have a really strong partnership with the District Attorney's Office as well as the courts. We need to do more in Norfolk County. Wellesley is our one Norfolk County partner, and we would love to have more. If something you heard from this presentation or something you saw in this video strikes a chord with you, please reach out to us with your interest to be a volunteer. You can go to our website, which is www.c4rj.com, and follow the tabs. On the banner at the top, you will see Get Involved. You click that, in the drop-down list, there will be a link for a page that's titled Join a Team. On that page, you can read about what it takes to be a volunteer, some of the things we're looking for, and some of the things that you might, some questions you might have. There's a link there for a volunteer application. It is a one-pager with your personal information, something about your availability, and an email address where you can send it. If you are interested, please go to our website and fill that out. You can also call our office and ask us questions about the process as well. We are conducting a fall 2015 training on October 16th and 17th. We will also have a spring 2016 training, and that is either going to be in late February or late March. If you are interested but unavailable for the October training or miss the October training dates, please fill out that application and send it to our office. We will put you on the list for the spring training and reach out to you when it's time to interview volunteers. Please take action. We are trying to make our relationships in Wellesley stronger. We are trying to help this community find ways to resolve crime based on the voices and the wishes of the residents in the community, and we would love your help. Thank you.